Unleash the power of knowledge and connect with the heartbeat of the African Diaspora. Download our African Diaspora News Channel app now on Google Play and Apple App Store. Stay informed with authentic and diverse perspectives, breaking news, and cultural insights. Immerse yourself in a community that celebrates unity, resilience, and progress. Experience the vibrancy of the diaspora at your fingertips. Don't miss out. Empower your perspective today. Search African Diaspora News Channel and join the conversation.
Peace, family. My name is Vicki Dillard for African Diaspora News Channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to give us a big thumbs up, and share the broadcast. Thank you so much, family. Now, France is at it again. They continue to reveal their strategy of colonization, exploitation, destruction, and even, yes, a military invasion. Vicki, what are you talking about? First, before I put this in context, it has been circulating most recently a statement that Emmanuel Macron, who is known for his absolute disregard and disrespect of Africans on the continent in particular. Yes, he is known for saying some of the most outrageous and disrespectful things. Well, a few of the African outlets, several, one in particular, like the African Hub, has recently issued this notice when they said that Emmanuel Macron has stated that France will not abandon its former African colonies, arguing that Africa is not yet ready to thrive independently. He believes a complete withdrawal could halt progress and emphasizes France's ongoing role in supporting the continent's growth as it remains the least developed. Now, family, there are multiple reasons why your open enemy will show their hands. And while it's important that all appropriate officials, military leaders, and those that are responsible for the population and the well-being of the people, including obviously the public themselves, we need to be very aware of some of this as we begin to strategize against such things and continue development. But at the same time, it's important that you recognize the actual nature of your open enemy. More than anything, I believe this is important because we who are the oldest people on the planet, the most melanated people on the planet, Black folks around the world, we have a tendency to believe that everybody's worldview is like ours. We believe that everybody's nature, not that we're perfect in everything, but everybody's nature or tendency, especially if in the appropriate environment, is to do good by other people and not exploit them, to mass delete them, and other such things. What you have to understand is everybody doesn't, honestly, they're not like, a lot of them not like that. And the fact that we continue to give such persons the benefit of the doubt is what's actually prolonging our destruction. You heard me right. These statements that Macron has ostensibly been saying, even in recent history, apparently, based on a couple of things that I've read, reminds me of a broadcast that I did over a year ago. I don't know how many of you all remember it, but y'all know I'm going to bring you the receipts. I want you to watch this brief clip because I sounded the alarm over a year ago, I believe, approximately, about former Chief of Staff Military General, Mr., I believe you pronounce his name, Lecointre, former Chief of Staff of the French armies. Yes, General Lecointre. Just as a reminder, watch this.
What is our common destiny as Europeans is the Mediterranean and Africa, where our destiny is at stake. And so we, the French, have constantly tried to train the Europeans in this awareness of the need to act collectively in Africa and the Mediterranean. And I am absolutely sorry to see the failure of our commitments to the Sahel. And I think that in any case, we will have to ask ourselves the question, Because we cannot imagine having at our doors an entire continent that is plunging into the destruction of government and state apparatus, plunging into a form of civil war chaos in many countries and more countries, in difficulties that are linked to climate change, which are even more dramatic on vulnerable populations, such as African populations. In addition, a continent that is going to experience a demographic explosion like no other continent has ever experienced. And so imagine that this is happening here in the next 10 to 20 years, and that it will have no consequences on Europe because we live in a kind of bubble protected by I don't know what else. It is simply unconscious. And so I think that this common interest should one day make Europe decide to act as a political entity that will defend its own interests, including by means of the commitment of its armies. The withdrawal of the Sahel was difficult to accept for all those who were involved. I am the first to have a lot of trouble swallowing that. It is a French, European, and African failure, which mainly stems from what we have not understood, which is that the action should be a global action. The restoration of the state, the return of the administrations, the return of development. And if we cannot do all this simultaneously and in a coordinated way, we will fail. That's what happened. What I have trouble swallowing is when I am told that it is the failure of a military operation. The reality is that it is not the failure of a military operation. The military operation was a dimension. I am convinced that in a few years, I don't know if it is 10 years or less or more, we will have the obligation to return and help these African countries. It is not China, Russia, and Wagner who will bring sustainable solutions to the very great difficulties that these African countries and their populations know.
Okay, family, did you hear what he said? Just real easy going, like in this interview that he did when he said that the Mediterranean and Africa, he said that's where the destiny of his country lies. He said that's where the destiny of his country lies. He admits, he says that what he's tried to do is to train the Europeans to act collectively against this. He said that basically the fall of the Sahel and them being kicked out is really the failure of their commitment to the Sahel. He said he can't imagine. His little mind won't let him imagine a world without their involvement in their hand in Africa. I'm paraphrasing that part, but he literally the one said he can't imagine. Y'all heard him. He goes on to talk about how the state is, the continent is plunging. The continent, y'all, is plunging into government failure and state failure apparatus. Yes. He even talked about the demographic shifts. Y'all see how white folks worried about that too? They trying to make military war, baby, because they're concerned about the darkening of the planet. Knowing that they're the newest people on our planet. You see? We've been here longer than anybody. He said they needed to defend their own interest, including with the involvement of the armies. And he even went so far as to talk about global action. How the planet, the globe, the nations around the world need to join in on this to defend their interests. Doesn't he sound just like Macron there? Macron has said other previous things over the past year or so that's just absolutely outrageous as well. But I want to remind you all of this to be real clear about who your open enemy is telling you they are, and never to let your guard down and to always remain vigilant. I can't wait to hear what you have to say about this. I'm going to keep putting this out because I want our people to double down, to triple down, to quadruple down on the fact that we're not playing with y'all, smiling or not. Our country doesn't belong to you. And we're not going to sit here and try to explain to you why it doesn't. We're just going to act to protect ourselves as we continue to develop. And if we decide to do business with you, it's because we decided. And it's going to be on our terms that make sense and not for the overarching exploitation of you and your country and your people. Now, I brought this up also because it's really close to the time frame that he mentioned. Did you all hear him say one last thing here? What did he say? He went so far as to say that the military recolonization, and I'm paraphrasing of Africa by France and Europe, he said that he feels that they're going to have to come back in within the next 10 years. Is Macron hinting out here? Because why would this military general, the former chief of staff of French armies rather, y'all know he's not just saying it just to be saying it. He's got a plan from the time he said that over a year ago to he said within the next 10 years, this is what they're plotting. Shout out to our family that's on one accord, but it is my prayer that other collective African nations and states will come together and truly serve as a unified African Union, even if it's informal, but to get your armies built up, your military built up, your protections built up, and your resolve to stand with each other, because it's not going to go down very well in the upcoming years for leaders who are sellouts on behalf of our open enemy. I can't wait to hear what you have to say about it, beloved. How many of you all know there are many forces, global forces, international forces, spiritual forces that are working to ensure that you don't rise? But how many of you all know that there's an ancient scripture that says that the spirit that's in us is greater than the spirit that's in the world? If you really believe that, beloved, and it's much larger than even what that text implies, I don't want you to miss my upcoming free webinar. Go to my website at VickiPlanet.com. It's happening May 18th. Yes, the time of this airing, May 18th. If you're watching it later, you may have an opportunity to watch the replay. If you're part of my school, go to my website,